Well, welcome back to Krown's Crypto Cave. It is a rainy Tuesday morning over here from a not so hot and very much welcome change of pace. Helsinki, Finland. As always, want to be wishing you the best of the best and the happiest of the happiest. And most importantly, we have a lot of very interesting things to be talking about today, mostly because it is going to be the monthly close for all markets. And that means that at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time or 5 p.m. Central Standard Time, we should have massive clarity on the long-term situation, of which there are plenty of things a-brewing right now. Anyways, putting the focus once again on the Krown Trading application, which can be found at app.krowntrading.net, we do see that the open interest is actually coming down a little bit from yesterday as Bitcoin price action does rise up from that $9,000 sweep that we saw once again. And sorry, I need to also follow up from the short-term analysis. Yesterday, we did say that short-term timeframes were going to come back down, sweep the lows, and then look for another bounce. And I believe that that's what we're in the progress of right now, as Bitcoin did head up to about 9,200, it looks like, in the early morning hours. So we'll follow up on that once we get into the actual charts, but I want to make a relationship between the open interest and the price action going on right now. And it is very interesting to see that when price action does come down, we do see open interest go up. And then when price action goes up, we do see open interest come down. Now, these are relatively small numbers here. We're still playing within the overall ranges, but it does help kind of come up with an overall encompassing bias boner here. Anyways, still want to see another massive move in open interest kind of confirm the next sort of major change of behavior, major macro move, if you want to call it that. And I'd imagine that because this data is so new, we actually don't have a standardized way of looking at this next range. I would guess it's probably somewhere around 2 billion on this read, but realistically, that is just a guess that is based on very little. I wouldn't even call it an educated guess. What I'd call it is I want to wait and see. I want to see Bitcoin break the high-term time frame range, whether it's either below about, if you really want to get super conservative, 8,700 or above 9,900. It's still one and the same, and then the open interest read on top of that. Now, of course, we already have seen the relationship between the medium-term time frames also between that 1.5 to 1.7.5 billion marker, and that has been working pretty damn well. So I will keep on going with that until told otherwise, but this next move is really going to be the decider for that. Anyways, Bitcoin dominance coming down a little bit, or it's actually popped up a little bit. I think that we were 64.5% yesterday, popping up to about 64.75 today, and fear and greed index also popping up a few points as well. Very interesting to see that it's still in the greedy zone, even though Bitcoin has been more or less steady here. And usually, and this is this alongside a couple of the things which we'll go over are actually some of the more major bullish things that I'd be looking at right now, even though I do think that the bears are painting a more interesting picture from the higher term time frame perspective. But what's interesting here is that this has actually been very consistent, and to see Bitcoin still in the kind of the fearful zone, while Bitcoin has been, well, to be fair, still on the higher term time frames, putting in higher lows as of right now. That can when the monthly closes, perhaps we'll actually see a change in that. It's very interesting to see that, because typically when Bitcoin is putting in these major massive highs, it's actually going to be much more in the greedy zone, somewhere at least above 60 and typically around a 75 to 80 marker. So keep an eye on that as well. Anyways, looking at, we covered everything that we want to see there. What I want to talk about now is actually, introductory for tomorrow's action, as we are going to be having a sale for basically midsummer, if you want to call it that, for those of you in basically anywhere other than America. If you're an American, then it's 4th of July sale. So with that said, I do have a few announcements to make on that. All programs, Jewel included, indicators, everything is going to be 20% off. If you're already in the Jewel and you're wondering how do you retain that, or how do you get that 20% off, we're actually just going to send it back to you. You don't need to do anything on your own behalf, and we'll keep track of that. And what else do I want to say? We're also going to be offering a new kind of setup with the way that we're going to be doing the Jewel. We'll do it in actually 3-month increments as well, with a slight discount there too. So for the people who do want to grab it for longer, then there you go. As for everything else, I should also say that Morinfall will be releasing his PineScript editor, his PineScript coding, I should say, program as alongside the sale as well, and that is going to be something pretty damn interesting to a lot of people I know out there who are looking to learn how from the ground up to do PineScript essentially. And also for the people in the Jewel, there's going to be a lot of added value as well in these next coming weeks. What Morinfall is actually going to do is he's created his own channel for the Jewel subscribers, and what will happen there is he will actually go over every week all of the signal, or maybe not all of the signals, but a lot of the questions that he receives, and a lot of potential setups, and I'll kind of let him explain it in his own words once he's ready. But that'll be coming up, I believe, in this next week, perhaps a couple weeks from now. And really very much looking forward to that. What he'll also do, which I think is really, really cool, is he'll also open up those videos to the public 1 week after they're published. So if you are, if you're interested in just kind of learning about it or whatever it might be, we don't really think that it makes sense to like kind of release it to the same people who are actually, investing in it. But for the people who are interested in it and just want a better understanding of what it's doing, then he'll make those videos available a week later. So I thought that was a good kind of middle ground to make both parties happy, because I know that the people who actually take the time to invest in it, well, they rightfully so want to make sure that it's more of a secluded group there, which we totally understand, and I would agree, because I fucking use it too, and I don't really want its edge to be diminished. Although we haven't really seen any evidence that is going to happen, so that's pretty cool. Anyways, what else do I want to say? Have I gotten everything else here? I think so. Yeah, the weekly Q&A format, we got that. I'll actually have to put a link to that channel soon. Maybe not today, but tomorrow I will do that. Okay, cool. Anyways, let's go into the actual price action here, as we do see Bitcoin. Let's actually just start off with the monthly here, because the monthly is closing today, and this is the most important thing. And in fact, instead of going off of Bitcoin, what we can do is we should actually go over to Nasdaq futures, because this is the most obvious chart, and we do see strong correlations between Bitcoin. We see strong correlations between all of the major US indices and just about everything else, Bitcoin included, because, well, it seems to be the same people moving around money in all these markets, and this is the easier chart to read right now. So I would look for this one to give the overall macro direction. As it stands right now, with the way that Nasdaq is above 10,000 bucks, I would say that I'd be looking for continuation to new all-time highs actually coming into July. It's a long trading day to go today. However, if it does close above this level or anywhere here or higher, especially above 10,100, I would be looking for new all-time highs in July and continuation until something resembling a reversal. Does this look like a reversal to you? No, fuck no, it doesn't. Does this look like a reversal to you? No, even less. Anyways, what's also interesting about this level is that if we do put on the reverse Stoke indicator cross, actually it is a little bit higher than where we are right now. It is showing 10,055 to keep the monthly momentum to the upside, and that would actually create a very strong read right here. But there's multiple things going on as well, because not only are we seeing potentially, I mean, technically right now it's actually below that level. So if it does close below that level, is it all said and done for the top being in for the current times? I think that it's a topic of conversation, yes, but it's not confirmed fully until we have an actual reversal of trend. But we can probably front run decisions like that by looking at the weekly and looking at the last sort of basin area, of which I was wrong yesterday, or technically I'm not wrong just yet, but I will be wrong if this monthly does close above, especially 10,050, 10,100-ish region tonight at what's the Eastern Standard Time for that? It's going to be 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. I'm always used to Chicago times, which is 3, and so actually have clarity on that situation at that time. If it does close above 10,050 or especially 10,100, I'd be looking for new all-time highs. I will be wrong about this coming back down to base around the low 9,000s. However, if it does end below, it's not all said and done for the bulls just yet. The bulls, I mean, the bull, as far as the long term goes, this thing's actually really not in trouble until we start going back down below 8,500. But I would be looking for a greater pullback at the very least to 9,500, and very likely over time 9,100 sometime during July, maybe July and then August, maybe sometime during August as well, around that area. So for right now, it's in the cards, but I'd still like to wait until the end of the day, because what's going on in the daily? What did Nasdaq futures do on the daily yesterday? It set in what appears to be a higher low, and on top of that, it's also going to be setting in some hidden bullish divergence or a continuation divergence, which should be good enough to get it a pop, which we already have seen a little bit of continuation on top of that. However, usually when I see these reads, I actually do target the top side of at least the medium term range, which in this case would be 10,100. Funny how that works out, because that actually is above the monthly pivot point. So with that in mind, I would really keep an intentful eye on today's action, not necessarily with Bitcoin, although Bitcoin, is relevant too, but this is just an easier chart to read right now. The other obvious thing that I'd be looking for is either just a takeout of yesterday's low, If Now's futures even just trade below that level at 97.28 and 3/4, I would be looking for a deeper retracement, at the very least back down to 9,500, probably another bounce there, and then set it up for a deeper retracement into the 9,100ish region, of which then we can maybe talk about reversals, and that would likely force Bitcoin back down as well. So I'm really looking for this one to kind of set the direction, and then kind of trade Bitcoin coming into tomorrow morning, and actually coming down a little bit right now. Could this be the red dildo party getting started right in front of our very faces? Well, let's go down to a very low time frame, and what do you know? It looks to me like we have a hidden bearish divergence move in progress, and it looks to me like we probably do come back down to 9,900ish region, but it's a long trading day left to go, so I really don't want to make a call right here, right now. But if this is going to turn down, I would expect Bitcoin to turn down in the short-term time frames as well, of which I do think that we are kind of seeing the same thing. In fact, Bitcoin putting in a local high right here, and we have the same sort of hidden bearish divergence, it looks like, as well. Yes, on lower-term time frame RSI. I'm curious how high this goes up to. 4 hour actually has it relevant as well. In fact, all the way up to even the $9,300 price point. So here's the thing. I still do really like the 4 hour death cross right here between the green and the purple, still getting divergence away from each other. And most importantly, look at what's happened in the overnight session. The rejection comes alongside what? Alongside the 55. And as it rejects, it gains more momentum to the downside, showing that there is some interest in playing out this cross right here. But again, as far as price levels go, that does supersede everything else, because otherwise, well, you just get caught in the fucking intermediate purgatory, waiting for shit. And again, to counter that as well, we do have the same potential hidden bullish divergence present in well, the daily kind of has already played it out, to be fair. Yeah, we do have this area right here. It did pop up from 8,800 to 9,250, so that's actually relevant to say that it's already played out. What's more interesting though is actually the 2-day and the 3-day, which to me, the 2-day, for example, does potentially have that hidden bullish divergence in play as well, between the low that we might have set in yesterday, but continuation has already been had, and we did get rejected at the first major movement average on top of that, which does indicate pressure down here. So looking at the 3-day for kind of like a tiebreaker, it does have the same sort of things in it as well, and I really don't think it would be too hard to get a move to 9,500 actually, but still, that is within the overall guise of a continuation of downtrend here. We do have we have a high, lower high, lower high, and working on some lows right here, although on the 3-day it's not necessarily convinced. 2-day, same sort of thing. Your last major low is your last major low is potentially right here, but before that we have this guy right here at about 8,900. A 2-day dildo closure below 8,900 would confirm the downtrend, as well as we do have that lower high already set in at that 9,700ish region on a 2-day dildo closure, as well as a daily, as well as 12 hours, as well as pretty much every time frame. Looking at the 200 simple, it is very interesting that it actually lines up perfectly with that as well, and I really do like the 200 simple on the 2-day, in the 3-day by extension as well, actually, for kind of like governing long-term price action. And to see Bitcoin lose the 21, that's not super problematic on a time frame like this. What is very problematic from the long term is a 200. So there's multiple ways of getting this right now, but I would look at yesterday's, or maybe not yesterday's, but the 2-day spike low that we saw on the prior dildo at 88.27 on Mexico to be a good continuation point as well. So multiple ways of getting this one, but I do believe that even just a move back down below there, that would very likely destroy this case as a local low, and we'd actually have continuation below this point right in over here, which would be very indicative that we are going to, fully and formally switch up the trend, and at the very least head down to probably mid 7,000s, at the very least 8,100, but probably 7,500, and then we'll come back after that. By the same token, I don't want to make it sound like it's a done deal. Like I said, I'm really waiting for the monthly here, but with the way that the 4 hours kind of shaping up, what would make me change my mind in the short term here? Well, to be fair, all time frames up to, I believe, a daily are downtrends, or sorry, a daily is in a downtrend as well. Some people will say that, we still have an uptrend correlating with this low and this low. I don't think that you can make that case on the daily. You can make the case on the 2-day though, which obviously is actually more important time frame. So you do have something there, but realistically, as far as levels go, it's very much unchanged from yesterday, even from the short-term time frames. We did get the bounce up to the 92.50ish region, and that has turned into a rejection, which to me says more about price action. But hey, if if Bitcoin were to unfuck itself right here and work its way back into the blue box territory, even if it just closed in the lower bounds of it, which is 9250, which is the same area that we got rejected from earlier today, then yes, I would look for extension to 9500 at the very least, and then play out another short-term range right there with the next pivot point above 9500 for the medium-term timeframes, likely correlated with a move back up towards 98 to 9900 back here. That's when the BULAs really start to have a case again. And what I could say about this is that if bears are going to take over, it extremely likely happens this week. If bulls are able to hold here once again for another week without really breaking the structure, specifically to the weekly time frame, then I actually do think that things will start to naturally flip back around, and we'll just see like a drawn out reaccumulation phase here, and something new will formulate. But for right now, the I'd very much expect the probabilities to be on the downside, which we'll check on later. So again, going for the downside right here, it is there's multiple ways to do it. I think that either using this low here on the 27th of June at 88.15 on GDAX, as we spoke about, is probably good enough. Don't even need to really wait for a close below there, as it would very likely catalyze a move. As I said, with bounces along the way, but at the very least at 81.50, probably all the way down to 7,500. That is a measure move off of this formation right here. If you're looking at it from like a Wyckoff perspective, as a distribution phase, which you can definitely make the argument for, especially after that last weekend low put in again at that 8,800-ish level, but still needs confirmation here. And like I said, bounces along the way. I'd have interest in, of course, this area right here for a small bounce at 8,700, last prior low, 8,500. Also a very obvious area as well for another small bounce, but I don't think that these are going to be reversals. Just, small bounces, maybe back up to test around this trend line, test around the last prior low. Don't have any real, what's it called? Proclivities towards that. What I do have a proclivity towards, though, is that if Bitcoin does break down here, as long as it's below 9,200 pivot, even like the lower end of this blue box territory, the direction is down, so it could bounce up, maybe a few $100 back up to 89, or maybe not 9,000, maybe even 91,000, or 91,000, no, 9,100. But overall, I'd be looking for that to sell into, as this formation is very mature here, very, 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 very mature. So if you are playing the formation, you're really looking for resolution, like about now, actually. Putting a nice trend line on here. Hey, fuckface, come on, can you work? There we go. Yeah, it is incredibly mature in this region. This is the time where it can really break at any moment in time. I know I've been saying that for the last few days, but quite literally, if you're looking at this from a percentage standpoint, this is about 75% full, which correlates with extreme likelihood above 80% chance to actually break. So this is really the time to be looking at price action. And while we are looking at price action, let's also look at momentum oscillators, of which we do see daily Stoke still pointed healthily down. Here's the kicker, though. We've been looking at this formation right here. Sorry, not formation. I should not say that, because it's not. I don't trust formations in Stokes. I do trust trend lines, which you can look at this as kind of testing the bottom side trend line of it. Whoa, hey, it's going to Elsa's beating shit up, I guess. What the fuck are you doing? She's having a laugh about it too. You think that's funny, huh? Think that's funny, punk. Anyways, so fuck her. So what are we looking at right around here? Well, with that in mind, I kind of lost my train of thought, but with that in mind, yes, that was it, the momentum oscillator. So with that in mind, let's go check out what the reverse Stoke indicator cross would show. And yes, momentum on the daily will remain to the downside if Bitcoin fails to close above 91.85, essentially. So kind of where Bitcoin is right now is about $50 away from that pivot. Basically, the 55 exponential moving average on the daily is right smack dab there. So I would say that using that as a good inflection point for the daily total close, probably also equally as important as looking at Nasdaq. But again, I think that Nasdaq's just the easier chart to read, easier than SPY, easier than Indus, easier than NY, and definitely easier than the fucking rut right now either, which I really don't show too often on stream, although it is pretty damn important for the people who are trading traditional markets to keep tabs on all those. Anyways, looking at daily RSI, it's also at a nice pivot point as well, because if Bitcoin does close here or lower, we will very likely see this continue further south. In fact, we can do this because Bali and Pig are goddamn geniuses, and they will show us exactly what price point is needed to close below that 45 read. In fact, I would actually be looking for continuation down to like 43. So what I'll do here is actually put this down 43, and we'll see what would be needed. So yeah, closing below 90.50 on the daily would put us healthily into the bearish control zone, and this would be considered a rejection to get out of the bearish control zone and then getting healthily in, which is also being governed by the exponential as well. So that's very, 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 very important, and we can now start to really correlate all these things together and really come up with major pivots. So essentially, as long as Bitcoin is closing today's daily total below 91.50 and especially 9100, direction and momentum is actually gaining to the downside, with historical volatility percentile and volume coming to massively mature signatures. Again, I want to remind myself that on the daily right here, daily historical volatility percentile, we are at the read. That typically does produce massive moves. And not only that, we are like on red alert right now because the moving average on the historical volatility percentile is actually hitting into the historical volatility percentile reads themselves, which are still in the single digits. This is actually an 8 read right here, and we were even at a 0 for like multiple days on end about a week and a half ago. And anytime that we've seen something like this, this is what produces multi-$1,000 moves. Going back to September 2019, that was the catalyst for this move from 10,300 to 6,400 right here. It's like 40% move, something like that. Yeah, 42% move actually. And what do you know? When does Bitcoin start moving? When the moving average on this hits into the historical volatility percentile reads there, and that's actually literally right here on that first major down day. Getting it perfectly. Obviously, that's not what we're seeing right now, but it's not perfect like that. It's more of a regression if you really want to think about it in scientific terms. Same thing right here. It spent a little bit of time, but as soon as it started to catch up, that's when within about a week the trend did emerge and massive flip to the upside. This one giving you a move from 4,000 to 14,000. This one over here similar as well. Taken a long time for this contraction phase in late 2018, finally hits it up, catches it, boom, 50% down from 6,000 to 3,000 essentially. And you're more than welcome to check on the other examples for yourself, but I feel like we've done this enough times that I'll just kind of let it speak for itself. Of course, following up on the daily jewel sell signal, giving an okay one right here, very good one right here, continuation right here. Is this still playing out? I do think so, yes. And I think so because of the accompanying signal that we actually do see on, I believe, Nasdaq as well for the daily. Yeah, very good signal right here. And E-mini futures probably not as obvious, but does kind of play similarly. I'm curious if we see this on regular Nasdaq. Yeah, we do. So looking at that to kind of give the overall direction, I would say that I do still err to the downside here. But hey. As I've been saying, if Bitcoin does head back up above even 92.50, sorry, not just heads back above there, but closes a 4-hour dildo above there, I would look for extension to 9,500 very likely, and that would bring things a little bit back into normality, take off the immediate pressure to the downside, and and still it's a game of levels here. So I really want to kind of bifurcate my sort of perspective here from like what I typically see on YouTube as like Bitcoin's definitely going up, or Bitcoin's definitely going down, or Bitcoin's definitely going to suck your dick. It's probably not going to do that. But what I can say is that, at the end of the day, from a trader's perspective, I'm more interested in levels rather than like predictions. Predictions are something that analysts need to do in order to gain clout. And the beautiful thing about it for those analysts is that they don't bear the financial consequences if they're wrong. Whereas as a trader, it's always a game of statistics. And at the end of the day, there's a trigger, there's a risk management point, there's a position management point, which can evolve into much more, crazy things. Of course, it can get a lot more crazy than that. But at the basis of any good trading plan, that is essentially the three major factors. So yeah. Anyways, hey, what's this over here? Stop pinging me, you motherfucker. All right, cool. Anyways, historical volatility percentile on the 4-hour is actually crushed as well. But it's funny though, we're actually not seeing, it's funny that my voice cracks, we're actually not seeing that low on the hourly, which usually gets the start of the moves as my voice cracks once again. But it does very much look like a confirmed lower. I mean, it is confirmed high right here, obviously, but more importantly, it's confirmed hidden bearish divergence is the picture that I'm painting. I do think that Bitcoin is going to come back down and swipe around, 9,000 and have a chance to actually break down. Now let's look at the monthly for Bitcoin though, because this does put things in perspective relatively well. And the monthly is not bearish, to be directly clear. And when I say the monthly is not bearish because in order to really like have continuation of the downside and to put things in perspective, we really need to take out this low right here at about 63.50 region. So is that helpful? No. Does that mean that we have a massive fucking range here to play out? Yeah, it does. I mean, Bitcoin can come back down to mid 7,000s around the 21 on the monthly, and it would be considered from a monthly perspective all fine, no problems. Although from, you know, Moon Boy's perspective, that's $1,500 down, more than $1,500 down from where we are right now. That's going to be, you know, initiate some crying and tears, which, well, Moon Boy tears are always, there needs to be like a song about that, you know. Good. Oh, you gotta fucking love it, man. Anyways, okay, cool. So let me double check over here. Yeah, so monthly Stokes for right now are up, but keep in mind that they will naturally flip to the downside if Bitcoin closes this monthly below 89.50. So keep that one in your mind as well, because if today does close below 89.50, that's also gonna be another very obvious signal that we will be headed down at the very least to wherever the 21 is on this time frame when it opens up for next month, which I'd imagine is gonna be like somewhere in the upper 7,000s. For the monthly RSI, same thing. It will flip the exponential here if Bitcoin does close below, I believe. And let's actually do this right now. It's 55 reads, so let's put it in. Put it in. 89.50, same area actually, exact same area. So monthly's making it easy for us right now, or at least there's nothing fucking easy in trading land. But the monthly's being the most obvious thing right now. So monthly close above 89.50. Bulah's hope in the more immediate future is still available. Close below, and I'm looking for retracements. Extremely likely to the low 8,000s, very likely to the 7,500-ish region, and then we'll kind of reconvene after that. I have been talking about targets lower than that, but keep in mind that, you know, these are things that I want to see in real time. And until we actually get there, there's no real calls to be made. But as I've been saying, you know, bounces along 87, then 85, then which is actually the 200 exponential average right now. 382 down around 8150-ish region is also going to be the you know, major fib, also big areas for breakdowns and breaks outs coming in from early March and also late April right here. Big massive moves there. And lower than that, we see the 0.5 directly in line with the measure move here. Kind of same sort of implications for this area as well. Big breakout postured above there, and in the 618 below that at 6900. So you know, I'd want to see each and every one of those in real time to kind of judge it. But I really, you know, if Bitcoin were to break down, I don't think that it's going to reverse at 8150. I think at the very least 75 region. Just like if Bitcoin were to break out of the top side, which is still possible. It's still very much possible. We have not broken down just yet, but above 9900. You know, I'd be looking for moves to realistically 11,500 with stops along the way. Now, the thing is that I have been having a more bearish analysis, or tinted more towards a bearish analysis for the last like week and a half now. After Bitcoin really failed to follow through on this segment right here in late June. Now, what do I mean? You know, what does that mean for today's analysis? Like, does that mean that I'm kind of like backtracking my word? No, it's just I actually do think that things have kind of already already had enough damage here that it probably will with the move that we saw last weekend, especially taking out this low right here. It's just the market ebbs and flows. So that's why I don't necessarily say that I blindly short into a move like that. I need to see the next trigger hit essentially and position around that. And right now is really the time for options, because there are some very juicy plays going on as Bitcoin really is putting in its time as it winds up for this next major move. Anyways, let's see. Okay, we're already 28 minutes into this. Let's actually go down to the lower term timeframes here, and let's look at probabilities for a second. All right, let's go to all right, no, we can use this chart. Okay, so what I'll do here is I want to use the low of 27th of June, because I do believe that that's going to be a very a relatively reliable pivot. So that's about 8,800. So let's get, or actually, you know what? No. We should use the monthly pivots here. We should really be using the monthly pivots. Hey, this all got changed up on me, but no. Hey, what's going on here? Oh, that's because I am, for some reason, losing brain cells today. So we'll use 8950, because if Bitcoin closes below there on a daily, that's also going to be the monthly close. And remember, that's where all the momentums change around. And to the upside, we can use 9250. 9300 is probably a little bit more conservative for catalyzing that next $200 move to 9500-ish region. So actually use that for now, just because these are big areas here, and it's probably better to err on the side of caution. Hey, what's going on? Why my probability panel printing all sorts of weird things? I must have done something wrong here, because, or maybe Bali updated this. Because this is not this. That's very strange. Below target probability, 100%. 100%. 100%. What? Oh, this is E-mini futures. That's why. Wow. Fucking wow. Okay, that looks a little more normal. Okay, here we go. Probability of closing below 89.50 is 29% today. That is very high. That is very high. Above target probability is 30%. Very high as well. So if Bitcoin is going to reverse here, at least on the short and medium term time frames, very likely does. So what is this essentially saying? It's essentially saying that if Bitcoin, it's essentially saying that we're very likely to have resolution today is what it's fucking saying. And I think the levels are just more obvious than anything else on top of that. But about 29% to the downside is significant. Have changed a few things on Bali and Pig's moms over here, and their moms is looking like it's gaining momentum to the downside as well. What I'd also like to see on this is I'd like to see the histogram actually measure the acceleration of this. That would be really fucking cool. That way you could tell if we are in the process of expanding or contracting the momentum. But in this case right here, it does look like it's still in the process of moving. What's also interesting is that we do see consecutive lower lows on this as well, telling us that the overall momentum is gaining to the downside, which that correlates with this low. Yeah, that correlates with all of the lows that we see within this consolidation that we've been looking at for the past couple months in this area right here, actually. So on this potential major top, which would make sense if that does follow through. So keep an eye on that one as well, or I guess probably can't because that one's probably private, I think. But for right now, you know, it is very interesting to see that it's actually gaining momentum on these downside plays. At the same time, it was also setting in higher lows during that time as well, and right now technically kind of on a little bit of a lower low right there. So oh man, actually, you know what, I think I'm gonna get off that topic because we don't have enough history on, or we do have enough history on this, but I don't have enough like reads on this that actually makes sense. This one printing higher highs alongside price action did work relatively well and did call the tops relatively well as well. This one over here did not, which was a little bit scary. Although it did get the hidden divergence, man, that I think I'm going to stick with what I know on this one, and I just need to let this one have more time because I'm not all that confident on it, and I think that the RSI is just making things a little bit more easier right here, and I naturally have a lot more experience with it, so I'm more comfortable with it, but something to keep an eye on in the future as we get more and more consecutive reads. But for right now, I don't have a conclusion to make off of that. If I did have to say anything about it, it would suggest that it is gaining momentum to the downside. Let's also look at the 12-hour close as well, because if the 12-hour did close below that level, extremely likely we're going to see daily follow through on that as well. And what do you know, 20.5% to the downside versus 35.5% to the upside. Obviously the upside has a lot more, but 20% is very high regardless of that. Now let's look at future bars. I want to see the slope of these as well, and it's the same. On the daily. The daily's flattening out a little bit more though. The daily actually does look like it could turn there, but I just think that the levels here are very well defined, so it's just easy to go off of them. It's like if you've already had the patience to wait through all of this bullshit over here, what's one more day, man? What's one more day? And then again, you know, it's like people will say like, but this happened on the monthly close. Why didn't the move happen like 1 second fucking later? It's like, well, you're looking at a monthly, so play a fucking month. If you're gonna be on a monthly, play a fucking monthly. It's that simple. It is really interesting to see like people like analyze the fucking daily or weekly and then trade an hourly. It's like, all right, makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. It's like, I'm gonna analyze this dog by petting a cat. Makes a lot of sense, man. I mean, they're both animals, so there's that. Let's go check out some of the shitcoins and see what they're printing right now. Maybe they have more obvious things going on. Butyrol is in a more obvious reversal here, as we do have confirmation of downtrend immersion or emerging. High, lower high, lower high, low, lower low, lower low. We have 3 on both sides. Not looking good there. Again, it can rally back up towards 235, but as long as it's below 244, it is just that, another lower high. Although I would be looking at this pivot right here to kind of change around medium-term buys back up to the upside, and very likely if it did retake that area, I'd be looking for a move back up here, and that'd look overall very nice. But let's look at the monthly as well. Monthly looks fine, actually. Monthly looks fine. So, you know, the very high time frames like the monthly make it very difficult to get bearish. So, you know, how does that fit in with the overall picture? If Bitcoin does break down, it just means that I'm not looking for it to like stab into one of the much lower levels. Probably, maybe even 8,100. Although I think that's relatively unlikely. I think upper 7,000 is probably very likely. If that were to happen, it would just suggest that, you know, not as much damage will be done to the downside. Weekly is very strange looking here. Let's look at it with a chart that has more history. Golden cross did happen on the weekly, so fair enough. Got that. What else we want to look at? Maybe Litecoin really quick, although that one's been less. Well, wow. Holy shit, wow. Even has hidden bearish divergence on the fucking weekly too. I'd be looking for this one to come back down to 35.25 if I was just looking at Litecoin. Death cross on the weekly. It's like the opposite of Buterol. Maybe we do see actual bifurcation in this market. By the way, that's what the actual chart looks like. Charlie Lee. Shout out to Charlie Lee, best trader of all time, selling at $400. Nicely done. Nicely done. Shout out to you. Massive respect for that. I mean, he actually told everyone what he's doing, and he literally told you that he's selling the top. Ripple Me Nipples in the process of getting a death cross as well. Same chart here, essentially, printing lower highs and lower lows. And looking very bullish. Just kidding. Very bullish on the inverted chart, maybe. Gold setting up for a phenomenal monthly close as well. Weekly looks like continuation. I still, unless if this thing crashes back down like to 1,700 to end the month, I'll be looking for this one to accelerate into July or whatever the month is after that to 1,800 plus. This looks very good. Still the best chart. Or one of the best overall charts, maybe is better said. Let's go look at Link. What's Link looking like? Very good as well versus Satoshis, but how's it looking versus dollars? Link just gives zero fucks about what the world is doing. Link is a true hedge, I guess. Dollar pairing looks very good as well. A closure below 4.25, and that might cause a little bit of concern, but it's currently about a healthy quarter above that right now, with the daily looking like an uptrend, man. Crazy how that works out, huh? What else we want to look at? Maybe do a quick look at SPY. That very bizarre chart here. Still defending the golden cross, so do have to be wary of that. You know, it's difficult to get bearish off that right now. Daily on E-mini futures, how is that different? You know, has the same sort of hidden bullish divergence that we see in Nasdaq as well. Did it already get its pop up to the 21? Yes, it did. So it got the easy trade there. I would be very split on this. I don't think that this is an easy chart to read on. I do think that it comes back down to 30.20, but what happens after that, I don't know. 4 hour looks like continuation of downtrend. Maybe lower than that, probably back down to 3,000 base, but it's still higher lows until we actually break yesterday's low, actually. So, or sorry, not yesterday's, but Friday's low. So cool. Alrighty. Let's go look at Tesla, actually. What's Tesla doing? Oh, massively bullish chart. Jesus Christ, man. Powerful Elon Musk. Apple gives zero fucks as well. Setting up for a phenomenal monthly close, it looks like. Whoa, hey, what about Microsoft? Same thing. So these are some of the bigger leaders of the stock market right now and looking more or less healthy. I don't really have any major concerns unless they have a massive down today below like 190 for Microsoft. Nasdaq showing a little bit of weakness in the early morning hours. I do think that this is going to come down further, at the very least to 9,900, and then we'll decide from there if the trend would like to continue with those higher lows, huh? Anyways, let's go back to Bitcoin. Let's wrap this bitch up and send her off because you're busy and I would like to go to the gym, and I'm also very fucking hungry today. Okay, so Bitcoin still maintaining the downtrend on pretty much all time frames up to a 2-day, which can very easily be destroyed if we take out the 27th of June's low at about 8,800. Few ticks above 8,800. Any sort of move below there very likely does initiate the overall move down into the lower 8,000s with bounces along the way at 8,700, 8,500, and 8,150. On top of that, ooh, are we moving right now? Come on, baby, do it. I want to see those girthy red dildos in my face. I'm opening wide right now. 4 hour death cross also playing out as well. So as long as we're below the 55, I don't really see any real reason from even the short term time frames to expect to flip around. We didn't even look at the short-term momentum oscillators, but 4-hour Stokes are starting to curl down now, and we'll close to the downside with any sort of a 4-hour closure below 91.50 coming in the next 1 hour and 41 minutes. So we will have resolution on that relatively soon. 3 hours kind of already doing it right here, crossing down from the same area, giving you the same sort of hidden bearish divergence here along the way as well. I do think that this one comes back down to $9,000 base. 2 hours, same thing. Looks like it wants to push off. Same sort of a target, same sort of an issue. This one actually 89.50 target. Hourly, same sort of thing. More so a $9,000 target as well. So, all those things lining up with each other, at least for the short term. But how does it lead up into the daily and monthly close by extension is the real question. And those levels, again, 89.50 for turning the momentum down on the monthly to the downside, which very likely plays into all those levels being smashed like we spoke about. Now, to the upside, of course, I think that is still relevant to talk about, although it looks unlikely here. Even though probabilities say that it is more likely. So fair enough. Is Krown going to be wrong, or is math going to be wrong? Well, math, no. Usually I'm wrong on those, to be fair. But that's why I don't trade my opinion, man. I trade TA and probabilities. And what do we see here? Still looking at 92.50, 9300 if you want to be more conservative. Or even just this wick high that we saw earlier this morning at 92.34. 6.75 on GDAX. If we do take out that area to the upside, I would look for at the very least the run to 9,300. Yeah, no shit. But realistically, probably going to flip back around and tag 9,500 after that. And then we might have something new going on. That would be a consideration. But as long as we're below there, especially, it's just another lower high. But above 9,500, yes, I very likely would look for another try back up to 98, maybe even 99. And then, I think that would very much keep the Bulaw's hopes alive. So with all of that said, I'd like to wish you well. I'd like to wish you the best and the haps of the happiest once again, because why the fuck not, man? Lots of crazy things going on in the world. Just read some crazy shit on Twitter, as I should probably not even check in on there, but I can't help myself. I'm only human, man. And well, I'll just leave it there. Take care, and until next time.